All right. Well, okay. I don't know if you read my email or not, but I have been. It's actually sad, but I'm working on looking for the beauty. I guess I there was not in my immediate family, but there were a lot of people in my sphere that died over the last like couple weeks or maybe the last couple months. So I've noticed that death has been on my mind. A couple weeks ago, my cousin died. My cousin Jeff, and left behind his wife and two teenagers. And then my boyfriend from high school called me, and I was like, I hadn't heard from him, and we talked occasionally on Facebook, but he hadn't called me in years, and I was like, immediately when he called, I was like, oh no, I hope this isn't like a call to say that one of his family members died, but in fact his mom had died. And I found it really haunting, actually, and I've been kind of attempting to understand why. I mean, of course death is sad and there's the loss, but I've been wondering why it feels like so haunting to me lately. So I've been thinking about that, and it
What
relates.
mean?
Oh
What
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
saying?
Yeah.
What mean hunting? Hunting. What you say that? What mean that?
Aunt, like in an aunt is like the sister of. Did I say my aunt died?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
my
okay.
sister of my dad. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
okay. And anyway, and then there was a tragedy. Oh, I don't know if you saw that, Barbara, but like
I
Corey
have been.
once disappeared, and um that
Yeah.
was really sad and tragic. And so there's a couple layers of it. I mean, there's with my dad's sister and the mom of this boyfriend. That's like a generational thing that it's kind of marking like an era is shifting. And then the parent told death, my dad died when I was 10, and so partly my heart breaks for these kids who are losing a parent, or two. And so I just feel the compassion and the like. I really resonate or empathize or even sympathize with the pain of losing a parent. And then also I found that now that I'm an adult and a wife, like I can empathize with what you might go through as a spouse losing a mate. And so anyway, I'm not trying to be too down and morbid, although this is a time of year where I talk about the psychic death, and many years, a lot of years can go by, and fortunately, no one passes away. So death is, I mean, death as a concept, but death as a reality has really been on my mind and on my heart. And so, like I say, I've been searching for, what's the beauty in it? Yeah, I guess that's it. What's the beauty in it? So I'm gonna share my slides, and okay, so sorry, I forget how to run my slideshow here. So anyway, so I called this presentation tonight Death, Compost, Alchemy, and Flourishing. And with the solar work, I do teach about aligning with the moon, but we really experience the moon always in relationship to the earth, but also always in relationship to the sun, right? Because the moon is reflecting this light of the sun. It's revolving around the earth, but we really see it, and we see its cycles as it relates to the sun. And so tonight I really want to focus a little more on the season, this kind of last few weeks of fall that we're in. And I guess how important it is to embrace the elements of this season, because I think, and I sent you, when I was sick a few weeks ago, I sent you my slides about this, but I don't know if you read them or not. But I think one of the things that happens in our American culture is that we're so focused on progress and fast-paced growth that we really cheat ourselves out of the internal parts of the process, the resting parts of the process, like the clearing and releasing parts of the process, because those don't seem like they're contributing to our growth, and they don't seem like they're contributing to our fast-paced movement. But really, I believe by studying this work, and we really speed up our growth when we take the time to slow down and do the full, we need to do all the aspects of the circle of life. And that includes the death, right? That includes the death aspect, which I'm hopefully going to tie together now. So one of the things I think, I put up at the top here, why do you come to the soul work group each week? I think I believe that we share a common value about the wisdom of balance, timing, timing with the moon, timing with nature, timing with the seasons, and these cycles. What I believe is possible with this work is a greater feeling, an experience of flourishing and life satisfaction, and hopefully prosperity. And I mean that both in prosperity in money and wealth, but there's so much more to prosperity than just money, right? You want to have happy relationships, you want to be physically healthy, you want to be rested, you want to have enough time to enjoy all the beautiful things of life. That, to me, that's when I say prosperity, that's what I'm referring to, is a really big picture of prosperity. And this work is really about looking to the moon and the seasons to get guidance on what actions to take and when. Like what, really this class is really about, like, what time is it right now? Like not 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., but like what time of the year is it? What time of the moon cycle is it? And what, how can we get in attunement and harmony with that for our greater flourishing? Because if you look to nature, like in its own raw state, it's elegant, it's abundant, it's generous. If you like, I just grow a relatively small garden, and we planted a couple tomato plants this year. I put them in pretty late because I didn't have them, and they still were just crazy abundant. And Scott and I had just moved the dirt into this area, so it wasn't even rich soil or anything. But we had this great abundance. And so I think nature is a great teacher about how to figure out the answers and the clues to that abundance, and also to figure, nature, I believe, is a lot. Nature, from what I've read and what I've experienced, nature is a lot about creating that dynamic balance. And it's, if you go watch outside, it's like constantly moving and shifting. Like if you watch what's happening in the garden, there's just like, it's like every day it shifts a little, it's moving, and it's going from one part of the cycle to the next. It's fascinating how it's creating balance and creating this flourishing, but also in this dynamic and moving way. So this kind of tells my story about my family death, which I already kind of went into, but I've been really wondering, and then I saw this, Scott and I were hiking yesterday, and there was this pretty young coyote that was like dead under a tree. It had curled up and died, and I just burst into tears because I was kind of already weighing on my heart, and then to see this beautiful young animal on death, I was like, oh. And although I do feel like this is like the guide speaking to me, I really think there's something that I'm attempting to wrap my heart around about death and the cycle. I do think if you look, like I say, if you look at the plants and you look at nature and regeneration, death is an important part of the cycle. And we all have are born and live a life and die at some point, and I believe in the eternalness of life, and I believe, you know, our spirit lives on, and my cat is here. And yet, for those of us who remain behind, like if someone dies, it still doesn't take away the pain of loss and or grief. But then when I look at the soil, sorry, my cat's right in the, when I look at the soil, let me go this way. When I look at this time of year, so I've got this, so here we are in this time between Samhain is around when Halloween is, when we celebrate Halloween, winter solstice on December 21st. So we're in this, what I consider to be the season of psychic death and Thanksgiving. And if you look at what's happening in the Northern Hemisphere, right? Well, I don't know in Florida, but I don't know if it's exactly the same in Florida, but like here in Sedona, like the leaves have all fallen, all the annuals have died back. There's a few plants that seem to persist. I can't believe it, even though how cold it is, they seem to persist and continue to be to green. There's a couple different plants that have survived, even though I think they're annuals. Anyways, but for the most part, things have died back, and it's really a time, I would say, of letting go, of surrender, of clearing. I mean, I think we're in that time with the, you know, with the eclipse season that we're leaving too, but we have this period of psychic death that happens every year at this time, when things die back and really ask us to let go and let go. I think what we're letting go is, you know, in my experience, every solar cycle, which is the circle here, or this big cycle down here, this big sine wave down at the bottom, you know, each year we initiate a new solar dynamic. My feeling of it, let's say my experience of it, is that I feel the new solar dynamic in this time between December 21st, well, after December 21st. Although some cultures celebrate their new year, I know the Jewish tradition, New Year is a lunar holiday after the autumnal equinox. And then we have a friend, Mark and I have a friend who is from India. They just celebrated their New Year at the beginning of November. And I know that if you were a Wiccan, Samhain is a New Year holiday. So there is some sense that this is a New Year time, although I really don't feel the new dynamic of the growing season, let's say, be very clear until this time, but until after January 21st. Anyway, the point is that there is this time when everything dies back, and that it's a really important part of the cycle. And it's taken me, okay, I will say pretty much every year, every year I struggle at this time of year to let go, because I really fall in love with the solar year and what I've created and everything that's gone on. And so I find, you know, I'm not, letting go has never come easy to me. Letting go of people, letting go of the solar year, letting go of treasures, letting go of old clothes, like none of it comes easy to me. Although, you know, so this is challenging for me to embrace the letting go that's required at this time of year. Even like when I grow a garden, I'm really good at planting and watering and bringing the nutrients in, but I'm not very good at pruning or weeding or cutting things back. So that just kind of gives you some idea about my personality. Like good at the nurturing parts of this, I call the creative upbuilding parts, but so right now we're like 3 weeks, you know, on December, we're going to be 3 weeks, we're 3.5 weeks until the winter solstice. And I really think from like many years of like watching nature and studying this from various perspectives, that this time in the year is really key for the flourishing of your subsequent years. I mean, in particular next year, but also the letting go and the clearing that one does now, that you do now, has everything to do with your future growth and prosperity. And so if you look to the garden, like I was saying, the annuals have died back. I'm kind of showing you a picture. I took this picture yesterday or the day before. I had found this tomato that was hidden under all the grasses that died back. It was still connected to the original plant. It was kind of frozen, but still growing a little bit. But like they've died back, and things are, it's not, like I said, it's not completely dead, but it's dying back here, and it's shedding. The leaves have pretty much all fallen here in Sedona. That happens around this time of year here. And what's happening now is, I would say, a focus from what we think of as the above ground world, the kind of world that we live in with the trees and plants, and to what's happening in the soil. And this, like I say, I don't know if you read my stuff that I sent a few weeks ago, or I'll just repeat it. Like, this soil time, this inward time, this is really important for the health and growth of what will happen in the future. And so if you actually, one of the things I've been studying is with Scott is like how to grow a permaculture garden. And he talks all about it. It's like the richness and diversity of the soil life, like the little microbes and the bacteria and the fungi in the soil. That is what, if you want a healthy garden and healthy flourishing, then you want to have all those you want to have all that life. And that's reliant on, right, this letting go, because most of the material that creates a life, like I'm just showing you the grasses here, is all this grass and leaves and, all the stuff that's been shed from this past year, like everything that all these grasses grew this year in a relatively short time, in like 6 months. And now they're dead and creating the nutrients for next year's soil. So if you want it, I'll send you this video. It's this permaculture soils video by Jeff Lawton. He's a very well-known permaculture gardener, but he tells you how to do a compost pile. In the first like half an hour, he gives you I'm going to kind of review it as a metaphor. Although if you're interested in gardening, I know some of the people are that come to this class are interested in gardening. But what I really want you to think about on a metaphorical level, on a soul level, is, what is the soil of your life? You know what I mean? Because there's an invisible, it's somewhat invisible to us. We see and experience the actual soil under our feet. But it's interesting to me how we, at least in the US, we don't really think about the health of unless you're really into this kind of gardening method, you don't really think about the health of the soil and how important that is for growing food, for our life, for, the production of oxygen. Like our livelihood is, like, literally is reliant on the health and diversity of the soil. And I think on a soul level, there is something about our lives that creates that soil from which we continue to regrow and regenerate and grow out of, that we want to feed that. And I think that we feed that right now with like I say, the shedding and the clearing and the releasing. And that could mean, getting rid of old stuff, which I need to do, or getting rid of emotional baggage or old resentments or old pains. That's the kind of releasing and shedding that I'm referring to. So I'm mainly showing you this, not to teach you about gardening, but okay, this is a compost pile. I want to talk about this in regards to alchemy, because when I watched this video and he explained the composting, this incredible alchemical process happens. I mean, he called it a mixture between biology and physics. But what happens is when he layered the grasses with the manure and then put water on it and covered it up, all of a sudden it heated up and started to, the little microbes and bacteria, they heat up, and then they start to break down the organic matter. And I don't know, it's this alchemical process where the nitrogen and the carbon and the nutrients all mix together and they heat up. It's actually literally like 100, his pile after 4 days was 131 degrees. Like you could heat a shower. He said you could heat a shower for 5 minutes with this compost pile, like only 1 cubic meter. So that's like not very much, but so I guess the reason why I put this compost pile is I want you to consider it as a metaphor. Like, what is the compost? What is it that we're getting rid of that is building our soil, that's building our wealth, that's building our flourishing for next year? It is about releasing. And there is, I really believe after studying this for years, I'm going to go back and just, there is an alchemical process that happens. I think it starts at this time of year. It may go through the winter a bit, but there's something magical that happens when you surrender at this time of year and come out on the other side of the winter solstice. And it is like you have transformative growth that takes you to a new level. And so what you think what you've harvested this year, you think, oh, that's what next year's going to be like. But if you actually let go and surrender and go through this alchemical process, a lot more is possible than you might think. And if you let go of the forms, like kind of like the leaves, if you're thinking about like the leaves falling off or the animals dying back, you're kind of liberating yourself to a greater sense of potentiality of what your soul and spirit is able to create. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this alchemical process. Again, I'm not really giving you a recipe on that, because I'm telling you as much as I know about it. So what I think is really amazing about this compost, and like I say, I'm going to send you the video link if you want to watch it. It's only the first half an hour of the video. You can see how Lawton, he shows you the biology. He shows you all these little, like a teaspoon of soil, there's like billions of little organisms and microbes and life like teeming from the soil. And so out of this death, the leaves and the grass and decay and the manure, he's created this like massive pile of life force that's really phenomenal in like an 18-day transformative process. And so I also want to just say, one of the things he talks about when he piles the dead grass on the bottom. He makes a pretty thick blanket of dead grass. And then that creates the airflow that comes up through the bottom. And then there's like earthy elements, and then water is added. And then all of these things together create this, like I say, this transformative chemical process that is much like a fire that somehow gives way to this life building force. So again, that's how I'm saying it's like alchemy here. And if you go to a healthy forest, this process is already happening naturally. I mean, a lot of us, because of the farming practices in the US, we need to have a compost, you know, we need to do it artificially because like our dirt has been stripped here. We don't, you know, we need to create some sort, we need to jumpstart it a little bit with the compost. And the reason I tell you that is because I think our lot, I mean, at least this is my experience of, and kind of going back to the culture, when you have to go all the time and produce, it's sort of like an industrial farming practice where you're just growing one thing. And because we've been taught to just focus on taking action and focus on working, we've kind of lost the diversity, perhaps. And I don't mean to speak for you. I know that until I slowed down more recently and really focused on bringing in more time with Scott, bringing in more time with my kids, like really focusing on balance and looking at, like I say, you know, making sure that I have the inward time and the external time. I have been out of whack because I was following the like cultural laws of like how to succeed in the world. But what I was getting was something like industrial farming, right? You get a crop and you think you're doing well, but you've depleted the soil of all the nutrients and it's not sustainable over the long run. So I guess what I'm saying is like, if I don't know if you've ever gone, and then you got sick and collapsed and your life fell apart because you couldn't sustain it anymore. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, right. Yeah. So kind of what I'm saying is, right, this is about, again, I'm speaking of it more in a metaphor, but like, how do we get back to that balance of nature? How do we get back to the vitality of the soil? How do we start to return the nutrients so that we can go back to a more prosperous and thriving and flourishing, you know, rhythm, right? How do we bring those pieces back in to recreate that? Because I do think that's possible. I don't think, I mean, again, if you're interested in Jeff Lawton, he has a project called Greening the Desert. He went to Jordan to, he took this, I mean, you got to watch some of these YouTube videos. He took this completely dry, hard desert place in Jordan. And just by using these permaculture practices, he turned this place into a beautiful green oasis within a couple of years. And again, that to me is a metaphor, like a lot of people in the world, and hopefully not the three of us here tonight, but like really live in a desert poverty of spirit, maybe literal poverty of money, poverty of spirit, poverty of love kind of atmosphere. And what I'm attempting to get at with this soul work is like, how do we recreate that thriving? And it's very much by following these rhythms of nature and by attempting to intuit, I guess, since we don't necessarily have, I mean, I grew up in a Christian based household. Like I have to search this wisdom from other cultures and other, you know what I mean? We have to go back to the garden and relearn all this stuff because we didn't grow up in a, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't grow up in a tribal community, and I didn't grow up learning how to garden this way. And we having to recreate it because we've lost contact with the wisdom of nature and how to stay in balance with it, how to partner with it. And that's what permaculture is a lot about, how to partner with nature and learn from it and just accelerate those processes. So
I feel like, especially in wildlife education and the early childhood part where I've always been,
yeah,
it amazes me how much energy we spend on making the day and the week and the month and the year rhythmical, balanced, time for rest, time for activity, time for quiet reading, time for loud jumping, and,
Mhm.
and we have no time for ourselves. We
Mm,
don't do it for ourselves. During rest time, the teacher is expected to be in meetings when the children are having a rest time. Someone's sitting with them, and the rest of us are busily planning things,
mhm.
so that we just completely burn out and destroy teachers all the time. And the whole educational system in America is just blowing up. But it's just amazing to me why we understand that children need this, but not that we need it, or we
Right.
don't act on the fact that we need it. And for me personally, literally, everything had to just kind of, for me to give myself time to rest.
Mhm.
I was going to interview for a job at another school that sounded great. It's an outdoor school and all this great stuff. And I was like,
Mm,
I can't. I don't even have the energy to get up and go to school 5 days a week right now.
mm, mhm.
Like it's just stop.
Yeah. I found that, I mean, I agree. That's a very interesting with Waldorf that we spend so much time teaching these rhythms to the kids, but we don't, as the teachers, get to it. You know what I mean? Like, because
Right.
I felt really burnt out and stressed out as a Waldorf teacher, and it was way more of a taxing commitment to me than I thought I was getting into. And
Yes.
to the point where I didn't have time, like you said, time for my own rest, time for my own creativity, time for my own children.
Right. It's just
So that is
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, I think there's a way of life that I don't know. Oh, well, this is one element that I didn't include in my presentation, but I think it takes a lot of faith to let go. What I know from doing this work, it takes a lot of faith to let go and know that it's, especially since we're taught that we always have to be taking massive action and we always have to be doing something, we always have to be producing something. It
Yes.
takes a lot of faith to let go and know and trust that our prosperity really relies on it getting enough for us, whatever that means, like getting enough sleep, getting enough self-care, getting enough love or connection time with our loved ones, whatever that looks like for you. That's why I put use your intuition about what you need. Like, we all
Right.
may perhaps need different things, different things fulfill us, but we we need to be able to receive and fill back up, and that takes a lot of faith, I think, to
Yeah.
not think we have to constantly be doing something.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have my son is like, we speak about kids. I have my son running
Oh,
like a crazy.
okay.
So I'm
No,
sorry for that.
no
So
problem.
I'm really surprised tonight, and I really love what you're talking about tonight, because as you start to speak about that, and ultimately is one of my thoughts in my job right now. No, in hypnotherapy, I'm working with people to accept death of somebody who just died in the family or something like that. Why I'm saying that? Uh, Barbara, you say something which I really appreciate, and I agree with you. I also with you, Sydney. When I start to understand my path, it was 6 years ago when my mom died. Okay, the first thing I understood, it was like, that is permit you to back in your present, because you're so focused in that death, you're in shock or something like that, you're suffering, you're in grief. That means you are in your present, right? You don't think of your future, you don't think of your past, you're just there. And you are there, you're suffering. What that means is like, I understand right now, and that's what I'm working at. And all my retreat, ayahuasca, meditation, that bring me here. We need to accept that.
Mhm.
And why we accept that? Because any death in our family or friends or who's dying for some reason, that means it's a purpose for us.
Mm.
It's a lesson. Those people die for a reason. Those people die to teach us why they're dying in that moment, in which mood we are, in which position we are right now. So they give us that purpose. So, and with hypnosis, I'm working that. And I'm really glad we speak about that tonight, because I'm really in that process right now. And one of the last 3 or 4 clients I had, women especially, I work in accepted death.
Mm.
And I can speak about that because with my mom, that happened to me. When my mom died, I was a shock, of course. But for some reason, for the moment, I was riveted in some relief. And I spent like 3 or 4 years to understand what that means.
Mm.
And then I understand was accepting that death. When I accepted, I really felt totally enjoy. It's like, it seems weird to say something like that, but at the end, I accept it and I feel much, much better.
Mm.
And that's the point.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, both on the accepting death and I mean, what you said about death bringing us into the present. Like, you might have said that before. I never heard it before. like that's a huge revelation, right? I mean, even now, right? Experiencing the death of nature, or experiencing the coyote or whatever, it really does bring us into the present. That's really beautiful, Mark.
Look, anything we do, especially when we are in that moment with somebody die in our family,
Mhm.
we are in the present, we are able to think about what I want to do right now.
Mm.
And you can think about the consequence. You know always the consequence in what we want to do.
Mhm.
And I don't want to repeat myself. You want to victimize that death, so you know the consequence of that victimizing yourself. And if you want to reapply, you want to accept that death, you know the consequence will be more like joyful or love to accept that. Of course, is the dark in the light, and being the dark is more simple, and being the light is almost more complicated. But you have to
Right.
fight. We have to fight. We are here to fight, to learn. There's no reason. We are here to fight, and that is fighting. We fight in the death. But when you fight and you finally you understand and you accept, you don't resist. It's more simple what you think, no? Like you don't resist anymore about that. Of course, emotions, you cry, you suffering. And then at a certain point, you're like, you know what? Why not? I know my lesson. I know why she died. I know why my mom, my dad, my husband, my wife, that died for some reason. So they teach you that lesson.
Mm.
Just listen to you. That's it.
I just had an insight maybe 2 weeks ago. A cousin of mine died this early spring, my favorite cousin. And it was unexpected. I mean, we knew for a week, but she got sick unexpectedly and went, within 2 weeks, she was gone. And she was 2 years older than me. I mean, we're not young anymore,
Mhm.
but just having a hard time with why she had to go right now.
Yeah.
And I got this insight that she's not in pain. She's been in pain most of her life with arthritis when she was like 12 years old and these terrible headaches and stuff. And she's not in pain anymore. And then I saw a picture of her. She was a quilter and a painter, and she's like, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's up there making quilts out of people's stories now. She's like weaving together
Wow.
stories and painting beautiful, yeah. And it just, this whole thing kind of lifted for me with her. And then I've been dealing with my own pain. And last night I was just lying in bed, I was like, I just can't take it anymore. Like this headache has to go away. I can't do it anymore. My
Mhm.
hips, my knees, like I can't be in pain all the time anymore. I don't have any energy. I can't get anything done. It's not okay. And then I kind of went, oh wait, but I don't want to die yet. So that I'm not in pain. Wait.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take the pain, thanks. What do you
But
say?
I just need some help to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Really funny. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so clearly pain has been on my mind lately.
Yeah.
But I had another insight today. I have a bicycle and I have all, it has the pedals that you clip your shoes onto and the small seat. So you wear the padded bike shorts and all that stuff. And I just haven't ridden it because it's so much trouble to put all that stuff on. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's time. I texted a friend of mine and she's going to help me order regular pedals and a bigger seat so I can just ride it with regular shoes and give all that stuff away. I am never going to ride that far again that I need all that stuff. Like,
Right.
let it go.
Right. You can just have a cruiser and enjoy riding
Yeah.
around.
And I feel like, oh, I'm giving myself a new bike for Christmas because it's so much easier to ride.
Nice. Okay, well, that was a really good example of the kind of letting go. Like I said, I have at the bottom here, use your intuition, right? Of the letting go, right? Yeah, that requires, there's kind of a death there, right? You got to accept that,
It's
right? You're
hard.
not going to ride this bike with the clip-in pedals and you don't want a hard seat and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to let it go, right? And you're letting go of that part of yourself that used to do that and allowing yourself to be something new now. Right? You're growing, you're changing, and it's like,
Yes.
Well, it's necessary to grieve for some time.
yeah,
Yes.
That's really necessary. We
Yeah.
need that.
yeah,
Yeah.
need that.
And I have to remember that it's very sad. And it's because my body can't do that anymore,
Yeah.
know? And my next birthday, I'm going to be 70, which is just old. It isn't it?
No,
When
that,
I was a child, 70-year-olds were like in rocking chairs. But I'm upset that I can't climb up on the 12-foot ladder to paint my shed because my balance isn't good anymore. So finding again that balance of you got to hire somebody to do that part. You can't get up there. You're not going to ride this bike the way it is. So make it so you can ride it. Like you had a turn to do all those things. And I'm grateful that I did, that I was in good health and, could do all those things for so long. And I'm also grateful I'm in good enough health to still ride a bike, just not that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But I hear you, yeah, to remember to take time to be a little bit sad about that, which is partly why I haven't been able to let it go.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Yeah, you're all making good points. And I think I have that circled in my notes, Mark, about the grieving, because that's what I've been feeling lately is like, oh, I need time to grieve whatever the losses, whether they're old or, whether they're the new losses or whether they're pieces of old losses that haven't been fully grieved yet. Like grieving is an important part, right? And I do think there's a grieving, I haven't talked about it directly, but there is a grieving part that happens at this time of year too, because we are letting go of the, if you embrace the idea that we're letting go of the solar year, there is a grieving that happens as part of this psychic death process. Before we can come to the new opportunities of next year, there is some grieving that takes place in letting that go.
I find that so I have such a hard time, well, letting go, I think most people do, but of summer.
Oh, me too.
It's just so hard for me. Like the flip-flops are still by the front door, like to run out and work in the garden for a few minutes. Well, it's not going to happen. It's cold, but
Yeah.
I just can't put them away yet. So it makes more sense to picture it as that it's okay to grieve that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to be sad that time is over for this year. And I know it'll come again and blah, 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 blah. But just to realize that it is a little bit sad to go into this darkness, but how important it is, I understand intellectually, but just giving myself permission to be sad that the light is dimming.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I don't think there is a time to. I mean, I think, but for my experience, right? So the moment I knew I accepted the death of my mom, there is no season for me. All seasons are good, are beautiful. I mean, when I think about my mom, I'm not sad. And I totally, 1000% happy think about my mom. What mean I took the grief by my mom, the suffering, be sad, but not just that, because I decided not victimizing that. And I chose to be grateful with my mom, to think about what was the message here, what I have to learn here, because she didn't left just, I can't think about she's leading like that, and then okay, here after here after here after year, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I didn't accept that. I'm saying I need to put myself inside that death and understand why she left, what she teach me. And I learned about that. Now I accept it. Take me, of course, my time and the suffering. So it's not simple. But today I'm totally happy about that. So there is no summer, winter, or fall, or spring, or spring. I don't know.
Yeah, spring.
Yes. So for me, all the season for that are similar. So that's my point of view. I'm sorry.
Well, I would agree with you that it doesn't have to come only
Yeah.
at this time of year, because things happen to you during the year, but this time of year is a good time to think about that.
Yeah.
Because it is happening, at least, where we are, where it's colder in the winter. It's a good time to think about that, because that's what's happening outside as well, and to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Well, it also is coming Christmas. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Christmas, when people reunite, they do parties. So especially with people we don't have anymore with us. So, and that's mostly, sometimes is the most difficult time,
Mhm.
It's like,
Yes,
Yeah. It's a difficult time.
it can
it's
be.
like, and that is the month you have to think about.
But I'm like you, Barbara. I definitely get sad when summer ends, and I like, as I see it, as I see it coming to an end for like, I mean, I would say for the last 3 months, I've been like, no, don't go. and
Oh yeah.
finally, I think I accepted it. I took out my summer clothes out of my drawers in the trailer here and put my winter clothes in and put away my sandals and those. But I feel it on a yearly basis too, like this rhythm of that.
Yeah.
Although I'll work on it. It's not that you don't experience death another time of year, but I do experience a pretty dramatic connection to this, like this wave, this solar wave, right? Where we're building up with these long days in the summer, and then it gets dark. I'm pretty I don't know. I realize how meaningful it is to me, because how invested I am in it every year, when it's like attempting to embrace it and get in alignment with it, but also, like you said, Mark, accept it and just go with it, right? I mean, it is part of this up and down. There's a natural kind of part of up and down, right? We have these ups and downs in our emotional life and our physical life and our spiritual life. And I think that's, just trying to just to embrace it, be in line with it. Yeah. So, okay, let me see if my mouse died. Hold on 1 second. And then, okay, so the last thing I have here is okay, the moon is at the first quarter. Do you remember what, I don't know, Mark, if you were here with us at the first quarter last month, but this is where I can pull up my other slides if you want, but okay, so last week the moon was new. So that's when you put out your seeds and dreams for the month. And then at the first quarter is when you take supportive actions of what you're working on. So if you did do something last week at the new moon, I would say go back and look at that and see what, listen to what those actions, what those supportive actions are right now. If you did one a month ago, which I'm pretty sure Barbara did one a month ago, and I think you did one a month ago, you could go back to that one and look at where you were at then and see where you're at now and see what it is you're growing. In addition to that, though, right now the sun is in Sagittarius. And what I seem to remember, Mark, are you a Sagittarius?
Yes.
I thought you were. Okay, I was like, you're a Sagittarius. The sun's in Sagittarius, which is wonderful, fiery, mutable fire sign, and it's a lot about the parties and the lights and keeping this light in the darkness. And then the moon is going to be in Pisces. I think tomorrow, I could double check it tomorrow, but the moon is actually in that first quarter on Wednesday morning. Pisces is a very sensitive, it's also ruled by Jupiter, like Sagittarius is, but it's more internal. So I guess I would say right now, this week, maybe use that Piscean intuition to kind of figure out what those supportive actions are. Again, kind of that harps back to really attempt to meditate or listen on what you need at this time of year. It could be going out and getting more exercise, or it could be getting more sleep, or it could be any number. It could be going to more parties or whatever and taking in more social time. But I definitely would say listen, use that Piscean sense to listen to what it is, to intuit what that is. What is it that for you builds that compost and builds that fertile soil for next year? I put some Piscean things in there. Pisces are good at connecting with their soul selves. They're making music. They're ruled by Neptune too, making music or art. I've also read that Pisces, I'm a Pisces, so I kind of wrote this from my own perspective, but Pisces often really feel deeply the sorrow and the suffering of life, and to kind of feel that melancholy. I mean, it's a beautiful thing on one hand, but it's also, there's lots of happy things to celebrate too. So, but Pisces kind of acutely feel that the challenges and the suffering of humanity. But then they're also big dreamers. So this is a good week to dream big.
I'm on it.
And so do either of you, this was the end of this presentation, but do either of you need me to review what I do at the first quarter moon, or want me to review that, or I can send you the video from last month too.
I think I still have that.
Okay.
You sent that too, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Just, yeah. Taking action. It's interesting because I am taking action on one thing anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And this is Jupiter station, like say Jupiter rules Sagittarius and also Pisces. Jupiter stationed last week. I don't remember what day it was. Oh, it was the day before Thanksgiving. It was on Wednesday. Stationed to go direct. So there was, hopefully you felt a shift in the energy where things started to feel like they were moving forward again. You've kind of been in a time, I mean, lots of the planets have been retrograde, but Jupiter, I really noticed there was kind of like a standstill as Jupiter came to a stationing. It was like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden there was kind of a shift in the energy. So hopefully you're feeling that. a positive, you know, more shift, hardening shift in the energy. I just hope, I mean, that's kind of what I get the sense, like in the heavens right now. There's indicators that things are moving forward. Not so much that like
I have felt a shift for me, but some of it is more intense. Like Saturday, it was just like everything was wrong. Everything went wrong, and I couldn't get anything right, and I couldn't find anything, and I could, you know, and I was just like, oh my God. And then my friend came over to help paint the shed. And
nice.
and she was like, remember how you were feeling? My sister was the same way. I went to work, everyone at work was the same, and I was fine. I'm like, what is wrong with everyone? And then Sunday it hit me, and I'm like, oh. Like everything is wrong and nothing's working.
Oh no.
And then the rest of us were fine by Sunday, so I don't know.
That's good. I'm glad it got better by Sunday.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like me with this pain thing is interesting because I've had these headaches for 30 years now. So, and you know, every once in a while I come into a time in my life where I have time to sort of work on it instead of just pretending it doesn't make sense to moving forward with my life. But I mean, I haven't been working since the end of May and still have these headaches. And now we've added to it the hip and knee intense pain. Not intense pain, I can still walk, but my granddaughter wants to know why I'm waddling like a duck because that's because it hurts. We were going up the stairs. She goes, Grandma, the stairs are really steep. She's almost 5. Hold my hand and I'll help you. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 90 years old. Upstairs. Enough with this. But it's like, I think it's getting worse before it goes away. I mean, I know it's here to teach me something. I need some help. But one of the things to teach me is to slow down. And, you know, I feel like I'm doing pretty well with that. Like, okay, we need to move this on. I'm done with this headache.
Yeah, I hear you. I have them too, so I know what you're saying, and I'm always
Like, I just can't.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Well, if I learn anything, I can contact you later. I have some things I learned over the last month, so
I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, you know, last year I went in Atlanta when I did my study for hypnotherapy. They gave me a nice book about this doctor Adam. I don't remember his name. So he actually, he's not create. It's like he's the guy who bring here in USA the program they call SPECT. SPECT is like a kind of machine. It's very organic, nothing like bad, but he check your head. Okay, I went there because it was necessary for me to understand if my brain was like in good conditions. So I had so many traumas in my life. So accident, my mom, some people abused me, some blah 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 blah. So and your brain take everything. So you have some damage. So I went there, and this guy with that program is not a MAIR, is something different. So he's go inside your brain, and he tells you why, 100% why you have a headache, where you have pain, why you're suffering, and what you have to do. So it's a little bit expensive, actually, yes, but
of course,
yes, but it helped a lot. And he was surprised because he told me your story. He said, your brain is fine. It's like almost perfect. It's like, what's happening there? And I told him, it's like, I think it's the ayahuasca. So, and nobody can prove that.
right?
Nobody can say that.
Yeah.
But I know it's the ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is like reforming everything, give you new neurons, like moving everything, and boom, everything disappears. So I give you 2 options here, Barbara.
All
So So, if you want to take action, that's the moment. And why not? Why not? There is always something you can do if you want to take actions. If you want to take action. So yes, probably that's why I'm here. We never know.
I know we
Yes.
just don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. So if you want, I will send you that the name of the dog. To actually have the book here somewhere.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Why don't you send it
Yeah.
to me, Mark, and then I can send it on. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Sure.
That guy is everywhere in USA, everywhere in USA, and from here, when I did that, I spoke with a psychotherapist, and then they give me some supplements. Everything is super organic, plant-based. And I took that supplement for 1 year, and I
Wow.
felt totally different. And of course, I'm vegetarian, pescatarian. I don't eat any more sugar, blah, blah. And then I changed it tonight. 1 month ago, I don't use anymore a supplement. I'm going for another company now, and now I'm feeling more. But
Wow.
you have to change some strategy. What you're doing all your life, something is not good for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely
So,
still not working.
And there is something. Look, if you wake up every morning the same way, you're living in the same way every day. That means you live in your past. So your past will be always your future.
Right.
So you have to change, do some new things, and stop there and figure out what's happen. That's what I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
And yes, that's my opinions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, and that's sort of what I've been asking for. It's like I know I need to learn something else or whatever. I just need some help figuring it out. Could you just tell me what it is?
There is always something.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes.
Important there are natural and organic, no chemical, because people use drugs. I don't use
I've been
medicine.
very lucky in my life, and I've not been drawn to that. I mean, I do use aspirin, and that, but yeah, I've been very lucky to not be drawn to any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just and I've done a lot of things, but I try to be very careful. I'm not gonna do anything that's has too many negative connotations. I've done a lot of acupuncture, I've done a lot of diet changing and different things to try. Massage therapy. I have a friend I'm doing Reiki with now, and that's been really wonderful. The first time she did it with me, and I was like, my hips and knees, and I got up off the table and I could walk. So, I mean, it's not gone away forever, but she's like, you're processing everything through your body. And I think that was why, Sydney, that I had cancer, was from the experience that I'd had at the Phoenix school that was so traumatic for me. And because I found out quickly and had surgery quickly, and it was gone. It was very, again, just so incredibly lucky that it all went very
Barbara, this guy, I don't know if you never hear about him, they call Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza. Do you know Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
Okay, that guy is another point really good. This guy is teach who want to listen to me. Actually, I'm going in Cartagena in January to do advanced meditation with him. But the point is, he tell us you can change your DNA, and any kind of issue you have in your body, insanity, you can transport in good way, positive for your body, doing meditation certain ways. So that's just you. Just be there every day to meditate 1 or 2 hours every day. It's not simple at the beginning, but you can buy with the $25 a meditation with him. You put your headphones and you stay there, and you have to teach how to do that. But that's you can do too. So it's like some these are different options you can have, Barbara. You can have a lot. You can
And
have
Joe
a lot of-
Well,
Dispenza has a bunch of books and stuff. You could probably find free videos on YouTube, and you could probably
can-
do his work for.
I
He's
can
got a
send
lot
you
of work.
all. I can send you all the information you need. I can send you. I will send to Sydney and all the
That sounds
stuff I
wonderful.
say, and you can, and then you can, and if you need me, you can text me so I can help you in that without problems.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Rudolf Steiner talks a little bit about that too, and he's the one that developed Waldorf education. But that what we do in the classroom actually changes children's biology, physiology, especially when they're young, and that you can change. And for me, I never had headaches. I had hay fever my whole life, and then I woke up one morning with a terrible headache, and so that's what I have now with the allergies. So I know it can go away because it came, right?
Yeah.
So I just have to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. Take action. Take actions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll contact you too, Barbara, because there's some things I learned at Energy Healing School over the last month or two since we talked about headaches before.
Great.
That might help.
Great.
So
And I think finally, I've rested enough.
yeah.
I think I've been tired for years.
Yeah.
Finally,
Well, because how long have you been a teacher?
40. Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
God, you must be like, yeah, you need a lot of rest probably for 40
So
years.
tired now. So yeah, and it is time. I need some more income, but I was contacted by a woman with an infant, Sydney. So I already go to someone's house. They have a just turned 2-year-old for 2 days a week, 6 hours a day, and that's lovely. And then this woman has a 4-month-old, an infant, for 2 to 3 days a week, 6 hours a day, and she's going to bring them to me. And I'm like, there was a time when I could never have done that because it's so boring. There's no one to talk to all day. There's no. Now I just love it. I'm like, oh, I just get to carry a baby all day. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And you pay me, I'm good.
A little baby energy, a little like that little precious life force.
A little nap when he takes a nap, I'm good.
Yeah, that sounds like a good speed right now.
So it's funny how it is all working. And my friend Kim, who's doing the Reiki with me, she keeps saying it's coming. Just wait. It's all good. Everything's gonna be just. But I'm not good at that, Yeah. And in our society, I think it's harder. And I was raised with a mom who did sit down occasionally to read a book, but she was always. I said when she turned 60, I felt like, and then I was 40, I finally had the same amount of energy she did. Like she'd finally slowed down and out. Like I could never keep up with her. And that's what I was supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Even now I'm like, oh my gosh, my house is messy. I'm like, well, if you don't like it, clean it up. And if you don't mind, why are you letting your mother tell you your house is messy in the back of your head?
Totally.
I can fix this.
I really relate to that.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yes.
I really
welcome.
feel like things are working. Things are working here.
Of course.
Well, I don't want to you guys have been on for a long time. I forgot to pray at the beginning. I will do the medicine wheel prayer now if you want it, but I can also sign off if you guys need to go. Okay. I was like, whoops, I forgot something. Grandmother Earth, Grandfather Sky, power of the 4 directions. All of our ancestors, we send a voice. Grandmother, Grandfather, thank you for bringing Mark and Barbara and I together this evening to explore the beauty and the lesson in death. Help us to continue this learning and this growth. Give us peace in our hearts with our losses and with our grievances and with our grief. Give us peace in our hearts with whatever it is that we must do now, whatever we must let go in order to move forward. Give us peace with any fears we might have. Help us to fight for what is right, God. Help us to fight for our body and for our health and for our innocence and for our own inner light. Grandmother, grandfather, it is the end of November. We have 3 weeks left in the solar year. We are feeling the increasing darkness. We are feeling the energy of letting go. We are feeling the end of the solar year. Help us to get in an intuitive space for what we need so that we can create that fertile compost for our soul that leads us to the prosperity we are seeking and the flourishing we are seeking on a soul level. Please guide us in that way. Thank you, God, Great Spirit, for giving us all these external clues in nature. Help us, thank you for guiding us to letting go. Help us hunt and gather that surrender. Help us hunt and gather that letting go. Help us hunt and gather, giving ourselves what we need and letting go of the old ways in which we may have mistreated ourselves. We take a vow, God, Great Spirit, to allow ourselves to let go and rest in Great Spirit, in the cradle and the crucible of Great Spirit, for the sake of our children and our children's children, until the sun no longer sets and the moon no longer rises. Aho! Aho. Thank you both so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a real pleasure having you this evening. Talking with you.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.